Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. And that's going to be just WWE Monday Night Raw and NWA Power. With me, pretty much skipping Collision once again this week to watch Saturday night's main event. I feel like it would be a bit clunky to also include Dynamite in this. So I'm going to review SmackDown and Dynamite on Monday. So look out for that. So today it's just going to be Raw and NWA Power. So sorry for the inconvenience. I'll get that ready to go on Monday. So we're going to start off this week with a little Monday Night Raw. Its third episode on Netflix. We start off with Rhea Ripley. She's in the back. She's arriving in the arena. Then Nia Jax jumps her in the parking lot, and officials break it up. Could we get no one else besides Nia Jax to challenge Rhea Ripley? Especially after the weirdness of the Liv Morgan feud. Anyway, so we see Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. No Pat McAfee because he was covering the college football playoff final that night. So Wade Barrett is filling in. Then we get a Jey Uso promo coming down from the crowd. Right between a yeet sign. And by the way, those people holding that sign, the first E, lift it up. We want to see that. So Jey makes his way down the ring, grabs a microphone, says, "This weekend, it's Saturday night's main event. I'm taking the title home. I'm going to win the big one. And I'm going to be the new..." Out comes Gunther. He gets in the ring, grabs a microphone, says, "Next, you're going to say you're going to win the title. Well, newsflash, I'm the one that's going to be beating you." Jimmy says, "Yeah, I'm going to take your title, and I'm going to hang it up in my room." Gunther replies, "You're a funny little man, but that isn't happening. Last week you told me you bet on yourself. And Saturday I'm squaring off with you, but I'm pretending last week didn't happen. You're acting like a company mascot, and I'd rather be challenged by Jimmy." Ooh. You never follow up with your words. These people believe every word you say. I don't. But you only bet on yourself until your boys need you. All that it does is makes you a useful idiot." Wow. Your words and actions do not align. Mine do. Saturday, I'm exposing you for the man you are. Someone who shouldn't be close to the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther goes to leave. Jey pipes up. "Hey, Gunther, wait. You're right again. I'm the mascot. But they're going to be with me when I beat you. I told you I respect you. Well, you're going to put some respect on my name. The only man who main evented WrestleMania between us. And it isn't you." So Gunther turns around, gets back in the ring, goes to attack Jey with his belt. Jey ducks it. Hits a super kick. Gunther rolls out of the ring. Jey then sees the title left by Gunther picks it up, raises it, then he puts it on the mat between him and Gunther. It looks like Gunther was going to get back in the ring and fight, but Gunther just slides in, grabs the title, takes it with him. So yeah, this is going to be a little interesting feud here. I don't think there's any real way Jey Uso's going to win this tomorrow night, but I still think it should be a fun match. So next up, we see the New Day. They're backstage, and they happen to run into JBL, with Wood saying, "Finally, someone who understands us." I hear tonight you're commentating on the match against Ray, and you understand us. JBL then says, "Yeah, I understand. You're in there to cut some dead weight of Big E, just like I did Farouk." Then Kofi chimes in and says, "Yeah, on commentary tonight, why don't you be a knight for us?" He then takes out a small-ass wad of money, sticks it into JBL's coat pocket, and then says, "You understand us." JBL then, with the most exuberant tone in his voice, says, "Yeah, I get it. Everyone loves Big E. You cut him, so everyone pays attention to you." Then the New Day just kind of roll their eyes and leave. JBL kind of checks his pocket, says, "Should I still keep this $2? So, yeah, that's definitely a funny spot for JBL, especially what he's been doing outside of the WWE. Like, he helped Joe Hendry the other night win the World Heavyweight title from Nick Nemeth, which is just, I don't know, it's weird, but whatever. We then go to an interview from Bayley, who says, "Cat's out of the bag. I'm back here on Monday Night Raw, and it just feels right. And I got a little message for everyone else. I'm going to take my moment to declare myself for the Royal Rumble." And going back to back sounds too good to me. In walks Nia Jax because they got a match later. The next says, Nia Jax says, "I took out Rhea and Tiffany. I'm going to win the Rumble." Bayley turns and stares daggers right into Nia Jax's eyes. Says, "I see what you did to Rhea. Why don't you try that on me?" Nia then just kind of scoffs a little bit. Says, "See you out there." So, now we go to our first official match, in which that took way too long to get to, as it's Rey Mysterio taking on Kofi Kingston. And Kofi and Woods, they have microphones. And they say, no, cut the music. We're not using that theme anymore. And all of you people are starting to piss me off with this. Too long we've been disrespected like this. We are walking Hall of Famers, unlike this guy, pointing to JBL, in which they say, "We want our $2 back." JBL gives them the money back. Kofi then enters the ring, bell rings, and we are off to the races. And these two guys, they got some crazy chemistry. While usually we see some high flying from Kofi, he was a bit more grounded, which was very interesting, changing up the style a little bit. Ray was definitely more of the high flyer. hitting a massive crossbody only for a 2 count. Kofi whiffs on a Trouble in Paradise attempt. Rey Mysterio with a Rana into the ropes, heading into the 619, but Woods grabs his leg. Eventually the ref does see this. Ref throws Woods out of the arena. Kofi tries attacking Rey Mysterio from behind, but he sees it coming. Rey with a roll through right into the ropes. Hits a 619. Goes for the West Coast pop, but gets countered with Woods. Kofi getting his legs up. Kofi trying for an SOS, but that gets blocked into a roll-up by Rey for the win. And post-match, Xavier Woods gets back into the ring, beats up Rey Mysterio. Kofi joins in, but then who makes the save? It's Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde of the LWO. Rey Mysterio's partners in the LWO, and they run off. The New Day, it seems, but New Day just exited through the crowd, came back down up the ramp, and took out Joaquin Wilde. So, yeah, I feel like the New Day heel turn should have been a little more impactful. Maybe I think they should have won here. I think Kofi should have gotten a dastardly win. I don't know if Rey really needed it. I don't know. And then, numbers game. No Dragon Lee, although he's busy. Not going to talk about his personal life. But congratulations, Mr. Dragon Lee. So, yeah, definitely a weird match. An exciting match, but not much really to it. But it was entertaining all the same. Then we go backstage. We see Chad Gable hyping up American Made. Then walks right into an interview saying... Oh, before that we had a video recap of Penta's Raw debut, which was awesome. Anyway, so Chad Gable takes the lead on this interview, saying, I want to talk to the world. I admit I have a luchador problem, but I figured it out. I'm going to go to the man who knows Lucha Libre like no other, Dom Mysterio. So, yeah, Chad Gable going to the source. That's going to be interesting. Then Ivy Nile chimes in saying the Women's Intercontinental title has my name on it. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Then the Creed brothers, not at the same time, pretty much say those tag team titles should have had our names on it, and we're going to take the titles from the team who already has a foot out the door. Which, interesting, but yeah. It's definitely good they have a direction now. Hopefully we get to see American Made at their best, because they're a solid crew. Then we get this weird little thing as we get highlights of Wade Barrett winning Season 1 of NXT. Now, if you don't know, the original concept of NXT was less wrestling and more reality/game show, which was very, very strange, but it could have worked if a certain somebody, Vince, actually took it a little bit more seriously. I think the original concept of NXT could have worked, but it didn't because Vince just wanted to make a joke out of everybody, especially Daniel Bryan, aka Bryan Danielson. So, anyway, definitely interesting to see early days Wade Barrett. That was very cool. So then we see Sami Zayn. He's cutting a promo backstage saying, "This never gets old. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm officially entering myself into the Royal Rumble. I spent so much time helping others and thought I could do what I want. I'm starting to think about those dreams to be a wrestler. The small group of WWE superstars. I'm easily a top 6 guy. That's where I am. And that group that is already in the Rumble, the only difference is that they have world titles to their name. And not to say I didn't have a great career. And with your support, it means more to me than anything in life. I don't need the title. I want it. Because 13-year-old me wants it. And I'm going to take it." So, very fired up promo. This next thing is very interesting. Who comes out? It's the Winged Eagle champion, Kevin Owens. And these two have been frenemies. They've been rivals. These two guys have great history. So Kevin Owens gets in the ring. Grabs a microphone. Sami then says, "But only a matter of time when you come out. How you want to do this?" Then Kevin Owens says, "Look, everyone saw what you did with Cody Rhodes. What I saw you did with Roman. It's not like what Roman did with Cody. You and Roman have history, and you overlooked Roman and me, and they forgave you because you are a good person, and you're my best friend. I believe you will win the Rumble. The Sami I know will win. You deserve it, but you still have to accomplish one more thing. We won the tag team champions together in the main event of WrestleMania, but now we get to main event WrestleMania 1-on-1. And we can do it if I get the WWE title. I know both will happen because I have your back and you have mine, right? And if I need you, I know you'll be there." Kevin Owens then drops the mic, walks to the back, and we linger on Sami Zayn for a little bit, who has a little puzzled look on his face. Will we see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn main event WrestleMania? To be honest, I would love that. More than likely, that's not the plan, but I would definitely not mind it. So next, we go backstage with a Sheamus interview saying, "I've had the almost perfect WWE career. I've beaten John Cena for the WWE title, but there's one title I still haven't gotten. And at Saturday night's main event, I'm finally going to win it. And let's go Irish." So in walks Braun Breaker. The interviewer then heads for the hills. Braun then says, "This title is mine, and I'm going to beat you and break you, old man." Sheamus then takes one look at Braun and just shoves him, and then Braun just runs off. So, yeah, I don't know what that was about. Hopefully, I am really hyped for that match on Saturday. Should be a banger after banger. So, that should definitely be a fun one. Next up, we got Bayley taking on Nia Jax. And who's sitting ringside in the crowd? It's former NXT champion Roxanne Perez. So more than likely, we're going to see her on the main roster sooner rather than later. Nia immediately goes for a big splash in the corner, misses. Bayley fights back after a little while, has her in the corner with strikes. Nia with a big power bomb. That gets blocked into an Arana attempt, but eventually Bayley hits a DDT for a 2 count. A little later on, after a massive Uranagi, Nia Jax attempts the Annihilator, but Bayley gets up and stops her. Bayley then, with a dive to the outside, she then gets to the area where Roxanne Perez is sitting. And they jaw for a little bit. Eventually, Roxanne goes for a strike. Bayley catches it. Bayley with a big elbow to Roxanne. Eventually, Nia Jax gets back up. Gets Bayley back into the ring. Nia with a big leg drop. Clothesline, senton combination, only for a 2 count. Bayley attempts a neck breaker that gets blocked. Nia with a middle rope leg drop attempt that misses. Bayley with a power bomb into the ring post. That looked gnarly. Nia then hits the Annihilator for only a 2 count. Bayley then gets up, hits an elbow drop for a 2, attempts the Rose Plant. That gets countered by Nia into a shoulder breaker, which that looks gnarly each time, only for 2. Nia attempts another Annihilator. That gets blocked. Bayley with a big old knee. Goes to hit an elbow drop. That gets blocked into a Samoan drop from the top rope. That gets blocked into a power bomb, only for a 2 count. Bayley with an elbow drop. That gets a 2. Bayley with a belly to belly into some shoulder breakers. Nia attempts a Samoan drop. That gets blocked. Eventually, she does hit the Samoan drop, the leg drop, and the Annihilator to win. And as Nia's celebrating, out comes Rhea Ripley. They brawl for a little bit. Officials break them up, but Nia pushes through, splashing other officials and Rhea. Officials then push Nia back to her corner. Rhea then breaks through, gets a couple good strikes on Nia. Nia then bails out. Rhea's in the ring. She grabs a microphone and says, "You, me, Saturday night's main event." And, yeah, I'm going to tell you, that was kind of a rough match. We've definitely seen that one before. They did well. I'm not going to say I didn't have fun with that. But overall, it's time to move on from Nia for a little bit. Let's have some other talent step up. We then get a little replay of the Street Fight main event from last week, which I absolutely loved. Then we have the Judgment Day in the back, with Finn Balor with JD asking Dom, "I thought you said you talked to the GM about this match." Dom says, "Yeah, I did. Is this the guy?" And then all of a sudden Chad Gable's there, which I didn't notice at first, but then I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice. So then Dom gives Chad Gable a card with Chad Gable saying, "This is the guy? I'm off to see the master of the dark arts of Lucha Libre. So Chad then walks off. So a lot of people are saying that's going to be Aleister Black once he comes back. I don't think that's going to be it. Because Chad Gable wants a luchador. So more than likely, it's either going to be like a El Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr., who just became a free agent, or it's going to be like some joke. Like, oh, it's Ray. It's your dad. Then it's revealed by JD McDonough that they're going to get a World Tag Team title shot next week, but Finn isn't available. Then Dom says, I'll replace Finn there. JD says, yeah, you're in for quite the match tonight. Actually, that was Liv to Dom, which is interesting. Dom then says to Liv, I thought you were mad at me. Liv reveals, I'm not. Dom says, I promise, I'll make it up to you. Liv then says, yeah, you will. And they just go running off. Dom's in trouble. Not gonna lie, Dom is in a little bit of trouble. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to keep track of. Then we get Lyra Valkyria video promo where she's hyping up her championship win, saying she's going to be a fighting champion. Although the week after she won the title, she's really not on TV, which is a little disappointing. Hopefully they step up. We then get a tribute video for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which was very, very good. Then we get a sit-down interview after, I'm going to say, the semifinal game of the college football playoff with Notre Dame's head coach, who apparently is a wrestling fan. That's interesting. Didn't know that. Then we see Seth Rollins. He's in the back. He's warming up. Sami Zayn walks in. He says to him, I appreciate what you had to say last week. I needed that. Seth then says, I'm almost rooting for you to win, Sami. But I'm going to throw you out first. Seth walks off. Sami then says, not if I do it first. So definitely some tension between these two. So I'm going to say this. The intricacies of the men's Royal Rumble, they're being built. There's feuds that we're going to see coming out of the Royal Rumble. Not really seeing it in the women's version, which I hope that WWE steps it up a little bit, because we are almost there. So next up, after all that, we got our next match of the evening, as it's Penta taking on Pete Dunne. And let's say, back in the day, this would have been a dream match. Pete Dunne is not exactly on the up and up. And Penta just debuted. And however, this match was absolutely awesome. Pete Dunne, right off the bat, tried to snap Penta's fingers after he attempted the Zero Miedo taunt. But Penta blocked it, gets some kicks in. Penta with a big old super kick. Eventually, Pete Dunne does get the finger snap in, and I don't know how he gets that sound going, but that just, it gets me every single time. Penta at one point tried to attempt a big dive. That get pretty much intercepted with a big elbow from Pete Dunne, who then hits an X-Plex onto the apron. Slides Penta back in. Penta with a clothesline. A whiff on another clothesline. Pete Dunne with a kick. Then Penta with a sling blade into a drop kick. Into a Death Valley driver for a 2 count. Penta then with another super kick into a destroyer. Pete Dunne rolls out of the ring. Penta with a big dive. Gets him back in. Attempts another destroyer. That gets blocked into a pile driver for a 2 count. Pete Dunne with another finger snap into a triangle choke, in which Penta powers out, lifting him up, hitting a backbreaker, which that probably takes a lot of strength. Penta with the sacrifice, which is the arm snap, into the Penta driver to pick up the win. I love how they're presenting Penta. I'm going to say this. This might be a little controversial. Penta needs to be in the Royal Rumble. I think he has been in a couple of casino battle royals. Casino battle royals / casino gauntlet matches that I think he would thrive in the Royal Rumble. We then get a Logan Paul hype video, which reveals he is going to be on Raw next week. Oh, brother. Then we get to the most interesting part of the show. It's a CM Punk interview, but it's not backstage. It's not in the ring. It's up in this little, standing room only spot of the arena. Interviewers standing there. It kind of looks like when, in real sports, a reporter is doing a story on something, stadium's food offering or something. It kind of reminded me of that, which, honestly, I personally would like to see more wrestling companies do something like this. Because it feels more real. Let's say that. So then, anyway, to the Punk interview itself. Punk saying, "This is all about history. I am the maker of history. I won the main event on Raw on Netflix. I'm going to win the Royal Rumble next week. With the stakes so high, that's when Punk thrives. When I'm at my best. Not Cena, not Roman. I put Drew in the dirt. Put Hulk Hogan in the Rumble, and I'd kill Hulkamania." Which got a big pop. I might cash in a favor or two. And there's one name that's going to get his hands raised, and that's CM Punk. I'm really starting to like Punk again. I know he has his issues, but it seems like he's doing way better as a person, and he's thriving. So that's definitely good to see. I'm a hypocrite. Anyway, then we see Drew McIntyre. He's warming up for his match with Seth Rollins a little later. Then we get to the slow portion of this show, as it's Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark of the Pure Fusion Collective taking on Dakota Kai and Io Sky of Damage Control. And while this match was entertaining, we've seen every combination of this match possible. I think it's time to finish it up. Although, I will say, I do like Shayna Baszler and Io Sky's chemistry. They work really, really well together. Including a couple of times we see Shayna Baszler with the ankle lock. And Sky breaking out. Eventually, Zoe Stark does get in. Hits a massive springboard dropkick, which was beautiful. only gets a 2 count. Sky then with a bullet train attack, which is a knee attack, only gets a 2 count. Goes up for the over the moonsault. Sonya Deville's on the apron. Dakota Kai takes her out. Then Shayna Baszler takes her out. Zoe Stark with a big suplex tags in Baszler, who hits a roll through into a knee for a 2 count. It looked like Zoe went for a big dive, but that whiffed and she fell kind of straight down, which was absolutely terrifying. I thought she knocked herself out. After a few strikes, Shayna locks in the Karafuda clutch, but Sky eventually gets out, hits the over the moonsault for the win for Damage Control. I think it's time to get Damage Control away from Pure Fusion Collective. Let them do something else. In which I hope, and this is kind of a spoiler alert for my predictions for the Rumble, I hope Io Sky wins the Royal Rumble. I am just hoping. We then get a card rundown for Saturday night's main event, which it's definitely a very good looking card. We then get a hype video for our main event between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. And then we go right into our main event, as it's Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. And just the tension, not only between these two guys, but in the crowd. You could just feel it. Like, these two guys needed to win badly, and they showed it. Like, big move after big move. You had Drew suplex Seth Rollins over the announce table at one point. Seth goes for a crossbody that gets caught into a suplex attempt. That gets blocked. Seth then pushes Drew into the ring post. Drew with a Seth with a swanton only gets a 2. Drew attempts a Death Valley driver that gets blocked into an elbow into the superplex. Seth then attempts the Falcon Arrow. Drew blocks it into a Michinoku driver, which that was a nutty little sequence. Drew goes for the Claymore, that misses. Seth attempts the curb stomp, that gets caught into a spine buster for a 2 count. Drew attempts a powerbomb that gets blocked into a Rana. Seth with a super kick into the Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Seth attempts the stomp, misses. Drew with a big old knee. Tries for the future shock that gets blocked. Seth tries for the pedigree that gets blocked. Big old clotheslines. But eventually Drew catches one. Takes him down to the mat. Locks in the crossface. Seth gets into the ropes. Seth fights back after a little bit. Drew with a poke to the eyes. A future shock DDT for a 2 count. They both hit dueling clotheslines. But then Drew gets back up. Attempts a clothesline. Seth with a roll-up to pick up the surprise victory. Post-match, Drew attacks Seth Rollins. Seth eventually fights back. Drew is getting set to hit a Claymore. No, he hits a Claymore. Then Drew brings Seth to the outside of the ring. Places his head on the ring mat right in front of the ring post. He attempts a Claymore kick. But Sami Zayn makes the save. Goes to check on Seth Rollins. Turns his attention back to Drew. eats a Glasgow kiss, gets tossed into the barricade. Drew and Seth are back in. Drew is ready for another Claymore kick. But Sammy attempts a haluva kick. Drew ducks out of the way and hits Seth Rollins. Oh, the tension's there. Definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, not just at the Rumble, but later at WrestleMania. Because all these little intricacies, they're connecting. And I got a good feeling something big is about to happen. Because this is going to be a fun Royal Rumble. Other than the repetitive matches, I had a whole lot of fun with this show. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It was a blast. So that was WWE Raw. We now move to NWA Power. And it starts off with a very interesting tag team match. As Joe Ocaso, I really don't know how to say this dude's name. Sorry, my fellow Long Islander. Teams up with Colby Corino, which I don't think I've ever seen them team together to take on Zion and Magic Jake. Although no Austin Idol, which I find to be very, very interesting. Kobe and Jake started off. They take each other down, hit some arm ringers. Jake with a big old arm drag, which gets Big Joe in, who pretty much just overpowers Magic Jake. Eventually tags in Zion. Joe attempts a suplex that gets blocked into a takedown, a leg sweep, locks in the ankle lock, but Joe powers out into a fireman's carry slam. Joe eventually with a Boston Crab, but that gets broken up by Jake. Eventually, after some strikes and kicks, Jake is tagged back in. Massive drop kick, only for a 2 count. Zion back in with an axe handle. Elbow knee combination. Big old fist drop. Tags Jake back in. Hits an elbow. Goes for a splash. Misses. Kobe gets tagged in with some elbows and chops. Jake with a cross chop to the throat. Goes for the body slam, but that gets blocked into a neckbreaker DDT combo. Only for a 2 count. Kobe with a couple uppercuts. Strike. And then an L driver for your winners, Kobe Corino and Joe Ocaso. Yeah, this was definitely an entertaining opener. Definitely interested to see what we got in store for Kobe and Joe in the near future. Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Next up, we got Natalia Markova taking on Tiffany Nieves. A little tease of their cage match at Looks Their Kill. Natalia immediately with a Thez press into some strikes. Tiffany's then like, whoa, back off, time. Natalia then gets in some strikes over more strikes. It's a big kick, a knee. But Tiffany with a cross chop, big old headbutt, DDT, only for a 2. Tiffany goes for an attack on Markova, who is against the ropes. Bit of a low bridge. And then again, another big dive, just falling short. Like, Tiffany just goes kind of straight down. Thankfully, Markova catches her. Tiffany then throws Markova into the ring post. They trade some moves, and then the bell rings, in which it is a double countout, which I don't know if enough time really passed to have the double countout, but I understand what's going on here. While they're both on the outside, Tiffany gets a steel chair, goes for a shot, misses. Markova fights back. Eventually, Tiffany does get the chair shot in. Then Tiffany opens up the chair, sits it down, sits Markova down, hits a big old boot right to Markova's face. So, I'm a little disappointed on how that match finished up, but it's going to be interesting to see where these two go in the future. Then we get a little tribute to Jack Stane, in which next we're going to see some footage of an unaired match between Jack Stane, Baron Von Storm taking on Mims and Black G's, who hasn't had a wrestling match in a while. So we got Mims and Dane to start, and they just start trying to overpower one another. Eventually, Mims with a great big takeover, big splash. Eventually, Jack Stane takes over with a suplex, whiffs on the big boot. Mims with a couple of clotheslines, big splash, only for a 2 count. Tags in G's, who goes for a shoulder tackle and just kind of ricochets off of Jack Stane. Baron Von Storm gets tagged in, threatens both opponents with the Iron Claw. Both Mims and G's bail. Jack Stane gets tagged back in. G's gets back in the ring. Dane with a big old suplex. But before he can follow it up, Mims pulls him out of the ring and throws him into the steel steps. Brawls it with him for a little bit. Throws him back in. G's goes for a pinfall. Only gets a 2 count. Eventually, G's with a flatliner, which that was impressive. Only gets a 2 count. Mims gets tagged in. He hits a big splash. Only gets a 1. G's fights back with a big leg whip. Mims tags G's back in. And he unwraps the tape on his wrists. Starts choking Dane with it. But then the ref catches him. Throws it out of the ring. G's tags Mims back in, who hits a big old seated senton. Locks in the Boston Crab. Eventually, Mims just kind of lets go after a warning from the ref. Mims then with an elbow drop, goes for a big splash, gets caught by Dane, who hits a big old Samoan drop. Both men tag in their respective partners, so Storm and G's. G's starts off with them big chops. Storm no-sells it. Elbows, no slam, no sell. Then Storm with a big old body slam into the Iron Claw. Mims tries to intercept, tries to break it up, but he is intercepted by Jack Stane. So your winners are Jack Stane and Baron Von Storm by submission. So now Storm is refusing to let go of the claw. Mims tries to save him, but Dane stops him. Eventually, Dane puts the cloak over Storm's head, and the claw is released. So, definitely I'd say a non-offensive match for these men. And yeah, that might be the last match we ever see of Jack Stain. May he rest in peace. Next, it is an interview with Daisy Kill. No Talos, just Daisy. Although, we'll see him in a minute. With Daisy pretty much saying, it feels good as the people here. I'm going on to win the titles with my buddy Talos. And it must be really bad to be the Immortals sitting at home looking at these, pointing to his abs. And then he sees the Immortals coming. They come from pretty much right off screen. With Kratos saying, we're here, we're ready to go. And I just wanted you to say that to my face. Daisy Kill then goes to say what he said again. Kratos with a big old elbow to the face. They start brawling. Talos comes from out of nowhere, starts brawling with Odin's son. And yeah, that's how the segment ends. Kind of short but sweet, which I kind of like. Continuing this feud between these two teams. We then get our Around the Territory segment, which, if you haven't seen that, that's honestly really cool. Then we go on to our next little matchup, as it's Kerry Morton taking on NWA newcomer Connor Hazard Murphy. And it looks like Kerry's in control early on, but eventually, after a big old hip toss and an elbow, Connor fights back. Connor with an impressive octopus hold. Eventually, Kerry breaks out of it, hitting a roll-up, only getting a 2. Connor with a big old Michinoku driver. But then Kerry pushes him away, hits a super kick, goes for a DDT. Connor goes for a DDT, that gets blocked. Kerry with a kiss of goodbye into a stomp. So your winner, Sir Kerry Morton. They're definitely building up Kerry Morton for his match with Kobe Carino, which I am very much looking forward to. Then we get a very, very weird EC3 promo. Although not as weird as like the last week where it was him narrating over his own match in Fast Forward. So EC3 says there's nothing better than victory than extreme examples, showing the end of the main event to Samhain, where he and the Exodus Pro guys took out Tom Latimer. EC3 goes on, in that steel cage, I'm going to split your dome. I'm going to sacrifice you. And you were always meant to be champ because you were created to be the perfect foil. The Overman will walk into the cage at looks that kill. The Overlord will walk out. So this was definitely the most coherent EC3 promo I have ever heard. And that is saying something. So, yeah, definitely interesting to see the dynamic between Latimer and EC3. Speaking of Tom Latimer, it is time for our main event as Tom Latimer, in a non-title match, takes on Tyler Franks. And Franks does hold his own. Like, this was a very game wrestler trying to step up to the main eventer. Tries for a crucifix bomb, only gets a 2. Tries for a roll-up, hits a drop kick, Goes for a strike, misses. Eye poke, kick, uppercuts. Eventually Latimer with a couple of elbows. Hits a couple of knee drops. Goes for the big splash, misses. Franks with a neck breaker, only getting a 2. Latimer with some elbows. Locks in the Franks with the crossface, but Tom fights out of it. Franks then with a back fist, which seemingly woken up Tom Latimer, who hits a big knee strike, an atomic drop, big clothesline, couple of splashes, Pungent Bay, DDT, right into the brighter side of the suffering to pick up the win. And like I said, Tyler Franks got way more offense than I thought he would, but eventually he fell to Tom Latimer. Post-match, I thought we were going to see something from EC3, but I guess he's keeping Mr. Latimer on his toes to end the show. Overall, definitely very interesting week between Raw and Power. Lots going on, lots of setup. Cannot wait to see what we have in the future. No Dynamite review for today. I'm going to leave that for Monday. Keep this video a little shorter, where I will also be reviewing WWE SmackDown. And then Tuesday, it's going to be my review for Saturday night's main event. Hopefully y'all are up for it. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.